Hi, everybody. We are live. You with myself, Phil Key, and Nicole BZ.
Yep.
Nicole is a success strategist and a creative business leadership coach from Denver, Colorado. She's got 20 years experience helping creatives and artists to thrive in their business. She's apparently started 36 businesses and is currently starting her 37th. Is that correct?
It is. Yeah, actually launched it yesterday. So,
Oh, wow. Okay. Maybe you can tell us a little
yeah.
bit more about your latest business and maybe some
Okay.
of your old businesses as well.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's been about 20 years. I had been working in music actually in Colorado, and I've lived many different places, but ended up here working in music and really fell in love with live sound. So I moved to Australia to study sound audio engineering and then started working in
Mm,
recording studios.
mm,
I really like pretty out there music and art. And I found that a lot of the artists that I was enjoying listening to and working with were struggling to find their space in like the big commercial studios, which is where I was working. I was working in the biggest one in Australia.
mm,
And so we started a recording studio and then realized that we were making amazing music, but it wasn't getting released. So started a record label and then realized you can't sell any records if artists aren't touring. So I started touring artists and eventually ended up in management because I'm a great problem solver. So that was sort of the journey. And I spent the last 10 years of my official music career managing bands and ended up actually back in the States doing the same thing. And just kind of ended up ticking all the boxes and doing everything I'd ever fantasized about and dreamed of, and realized it was
mm,
kind of, I had that calling that there was something more, and I had no idea what that was. I had no idea what it looked like. And I started to discover that the same things that used to make me happy were no longer fulfilling me, and I was seeking lots of medicinal support in that, and just ended up, underperforming in my job. And the business partner that I was working with at the time, she and I kind of had a come to Jesus moment, and I decided that it was time for me to leave the music industry. So I ended up in Colorado working in the cannabis industry, and
mm,
that also wasn't necessarily the next big thing, as I like to call it, but it led me to this path of working directly with artists again and creative business owners. So people who have really monetized their creativity and have
mm,
started a business and are really looking to start making more money or more impact or find their freedom and creativity again. And so
mm.
this newest business is more of like a systems model. Oftentimes creatives tend to hate the business of their business.
Yeah.
And I love the business of business because that's how we grow and thrive and get to continue to do the things that we want to do. So I kind of discovered there's this gap in a lot of businesses that have been around for a couple of years, especially with creatives. They often kind of thought about something or started something and all of a sudden it took off, or they've been at it for years and years and years, and suddenly not suddenly, but the side hustle became the main hustle. And there's just some holes that never got filled,
Mm,
either because of skills or just desire. I mean, so I can coach people and work on their leadership and their mindset and their skill set, but some of these systems can just get slid into the background of a business. So
mm,
online user experience, sales inventory, point of sales, all that kind of like boring tech stuff, and integrative, cohesive like marketing and branding and
mm,
digital strategy. And uh, it's not rocket science, but it takes a lot of time and energy. And oftentimes business owners, that's really not where they shouldn't be in the nitty gritty, like granular
mm,
details. They should be, out with their head up, looking around at like the big picture and the whole landscape. So this
yes.
is a model that I spent 6 months testing and got amazing results, like 200% increase in profits in 6 weeks, 150% increase in profitability, more time, more freedom, and just more creativity for these
Mm,
owners,
mm,
because they're not sucking their energy away into things that they don't really enjoy doing. So it's not the sexiest work that I've ever done, but it's incredibly like it gives them the results so they can really level up and become the true leaders that they're fully capable and desiring to be.
That sounds incredible.
Thank you.
You sound like someone that would benefit myself, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like me. That I mean, let me tell you a bit about me. I'm definitely a creative, but that is exactly what I don't like is the nitty gritty. It's the posting something on Facebook and then following up with my clients via a newsletter and then contacting an old client to keep that relationship going and all the administration of keeping my database updated, like all that sort of stuff. I just don't want to do it because my mind is full of creative ideas and I want to do the creative stuff and do either like actual coaching or funny, you're talking about recording studio earlier. I've got a recording studio and it's actually just come back into my life and I've started recording people again, not making money out of it. But yeah, so I guess it's what I'd like to ask you is how do you help people to I don't know, how do you help people with that stuff, the admin, the marketing, all of that especially as artists, we maybe don't want to spend our time doing that. We want to spend our time creating.
Absolutely. And so how do I help? I'm a big believer in DIY. And so I personally like to understand how everything works, why everything works, what the purpose is. I like to deconstruct everything and then kind of put it back together. And one of the reasons that I love working with artists and creatives, and I just want to caveat, like an artist doesn't have to be, or a creative doesn't have to be, and I know you believe this because you believe everyone's a creator. You're not a painter, you're not a musician. Anyone that has idea generation, anyone that finds themselves constantly trying to solve the problems and looking for unique ways of approaching things, I consider that a creative process as well. And so I think that most entrepreneurs are incredibly creative, and to give them the space to generate these ideas and these potential solutions and to connect with people and to just to paint, their vision of the world is powerful. And everyone wants to do it a different way. And so that's what I really love, finding these visionaries and these people that can see a better way. And they might not necessarily know the how, and they might not have the resources to necessarily make it happen in this moment. And so together we can figure out a very customized sort of solution. So then I started to bang my head up against the wall because technology has jumped. And every year, one of the things that a lot of the people I work with will complain about is this week was totally different than last week. We have no idea what's going to happen next week. How can we plan 3 years into the future? And that's a real a challenge. And it's based on this expectation that things are going to stay the same. And in reality, things are evolving so quickly. And I realized that I have the honor of working with these people and being able to connect with them on a higher level, this sort of visionary level, to support them in what they're really trying to create. To your point, they're not trying to create email lists and databases. And some people might really enjoy the content of social media, but like liking and commenting and the sort of necessary homework that is assigned when you try to build a presence on social media is a lot. And when you look at where someone should be spending their time and energy, although I am incredibly biased to the DIY approach, not everyone is. And so this, again, like I just kind of find problems and solutions. And I think trying to figure out a way to just fast track that process and fill in this huge gap. So then the owner can actually just go with a handover plan and go, okay, well, today I need to take a bunch of pictures. Tomorrow I might get to write a blog, and then that can get cut up and put on social media or whatever is going to kind of work for them in terms of how to reach out to old customers and how to stay engaged and how to be able to communicate what you do and the passion behind it to your people in a way that actually supports how you do what you do. So I hope that makes sense.
I've just been chatting to my website guy, and this is an interesting idea that I find. Maybe you can comment on it. He's saying, look, he's speaking about me personally. He says, Phil, you've got amazing content that you put on Facebook. You got videos of you playing guitar. You've got videos of you helping people with certain processes, life coaching processes. You're constantly posting photos of you doing courses and things like that. And he's like, all you're doing is you are helping the SEO of Facebook. So why don't you? So what he's suggesting is that he changes my website so that it becomes like a blog, and I post everything onto this blog, and then from the blog I share it onto Facebook and other social media platforms. Is that something that you would recommend, or something that you're familiar with?
So in order to answer that question, I would have to step it back and say, well, what do you want? What are you really trying to achieve? Because that's the challenge here. Is there are many paths we can walk down, and they'll lead us to different destinations. So I would start with what do you want, and then I would follow that up with what do you enjoy, because it should be a combination of the two. That to me is then, well, this is the path. We'll just walk down and see if it works. So what are you trying to do, Phil?
So it's interesting you asked this now, because I don't have the clarity to give to you. But we were chatting earlier before we went live about Abraham Hicks and following your passion, following things that make you excited. So I've really been doing that, but I haven't been thinking of, okay, I'm going to be this type of coach, or I'm going to have my recording studio, or I'm going to play music on stage, because I have many options. And it's been really difficult for me to hone in and say, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be. But in terms of what I've been doing is just finding things that bring me joy in the moment. So if I feel like playing music, I'm going to play music. If I'm loving recording, I'm going to record. So I really don't have this clear-cut vision of where I want to go. And I think this might be a thing that a lot of artists experience, that they've got many different ways to express themselves, but they might not have this direction that your typical like doctor would have, where he's 16 years old and he's like, well, I'm going to be a doctor, and then he becomes a doctor and he knows that for the rest of his life. Where I think a lot of artists are pulled in directions.
Absolutely multi-passionate. But I did hear a direction, joy in the moment.
Yeah.
What if, firstly, because I also heard a couple assumptions that we have to pick one thing, that we're only going one place, and we're not already there.
Yeah.
So if it's okay if I challenge you.
Yeah, please do.
Why is finding joy in the moment, or experiencing joy in the moment, not the destination?
Well, it's a good question. I guess what gets in the way for me is this thought of there needs to be some way to make money. There also has to be some sort of strategy to, if I'm just playing music, filming myself, putting on Facebook, doing these live interviews, recording people for free, eventually I'm going to run out of money and I'm not going to be able to live. So I guess that sort of stops me. So to just live and enjoy is awesome, but I also need to eat,
How does living in joy conflict with your ability to make money?
I don't know how it conflicts. What I have noticed is that I'm bringing a lot of these joyful moments into my existing coaching practice without me even consciously trying to do it. So because I've been so into my music, I've just signed a contract with a school where I'm doing a 6-week coaching program. So now I'm bringing my guitar in, I'm playing, I'm getting the kids to sing, we're making music together. In my own time, I've also been really putting a lot of time into the garden and the soil. And so now I've got each kid to plant their own seeds and plant seeds of intention while they're planting their seeds. So I'm bringing that the stuff that brings me joy into my existing coaching as well.
firstly, thank you for your work. That is powerful.
Yeah.
So and again, I'm just curious here because all I'm hearing is and we did speak a little bit before this. So you're in full play, full creation. That is an inspiring income. That income and those programs that you're offering, I mean, you're literally harvesting seeds
Yeah.
of intention and of joy. So you're experiencing joy in the moment and you're making money.
Yes, but for the last 6 months, I haven't been focused on really what I'm bringing out to the world. The last 6 months has just been about connecting with me. Whereas before that, I had clarity. I am a kid's life coach. That was my clarity. And, it was on my website. I'm a kid's life coach. I'd speak to people when I went out. This is what I do. And then I would get so much business and referrals from it. Now, when I speak to people, I'm like, I just do whatever I want. I don't really have this direction. I'm just being me. So it doesn't attract the work and the money, but it's attracting high vibrational situations where I'm meeting awesome people. The other day I had 8 people in my recording studio singing their hearts out. I had so much fun recording them.
Is that I think there was a video on Facebook of that as well, right? The black and white one. I'm assuming it was a bunch of people making music. I don't know if that was in your
it
studio or
wasn't.
not.
No,
Oh, okay.
I haven't posted any of the recordings yet. Yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
here I am thinking like, okay, maybe kids was part of my journey, but I also want to possibly coach adults. I've got an online course that I want to start pushing and getting adults on my online course. But then there's still the kids and there's still the music and there's still the recording. And it's just like there's so many things that I don't quite know how to say, okay, this is my website. And like my website designer now is saying, Phil, I need content. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know. Maybe I just need to say what you said earlier, having joy in the moment, full stop. That's all it is. I don't know. So it's like really trying to find my place, as in what's the next step.
This is just going to be a little bit of an example of how I work with people. So those were your words, finding joy in the moment. I just repeated that, what you said. And so I think this is a really common spot for especially artists and visionaries to get to, where you actually achieved everything you had imagined. And so then you have to kind of go, okay, well, blank slate. I have to do this again now. And that takes time. And you innately, intuitively are giving yourself that creative process by tapping into play, by allowing yourself to just experience joy in the moment, to create without purpose, without, well, this has to make money, this has to be monetized, this has to serve. That's how you start connecting with people. And that's how you start attracting interesting people into your world and having different conversations and these leading edge experiences. And that's where new ideas that you've never thought before, ideas that might not even be your own, start to come in. And it can feel overwhelming. And the problem with overwhelm is that's no, that's not true. So we feel something, then we label it in our minds. That label typically has a positive or negative connotation. Some of us think it first, and then we're not quite as sophisticated in terms of the feeling. Some of us are much more feeling oriented than think it. It's kind of by the by because it's almost an instantaneous attachment of meaning and feeling. The overwhelm, if we attribute a negative label to it, is almost like it's paralyzing. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to start. We don't know what's right. We don't know. So then we don't do anything. I think when you start to experience that overwhelm, if you have the ability to take a step back, it physically feels to me the exact same as excitement. I get the same kind of like butterflies in my stomach and tightness in my chest, and like I kind of want to clench my fists. And that's exactly what I do when I'm super excited about something. And then when I'm super excited about something, like I don't sleep, I don't stop, I don't care, like I just go. And if it feels good, I keep going. If it feels bad, I course correct back to the good. So when we're in this space, and an artist or author that I really like refers to it, her name is Lissa Rankin, as the space in between, where we've essentially accomplished everything we've ever dreamed of. And for some people that I work with, it's more than anyone they've ever known's dreamed of, more than their family, more than they thought possible. That's an incredible barrier to break through, but also a platform to launch. And there's no, it's interesting that you bring up the doctor example. I have a lot of doctors in my family, and they will all say the reason they became doctors was so they never had to have this conversation. Your path is laid out. You don't have to look for work. You don't have to wonder where the money's coming in. The reason is my family are immigrants, and they knew that they could go anywhere in the world and find work. And they weren't able to be doctors, but they were able to get paid. So, and like, they don't have to have these sort of esoteric conversations. So I think it is the brave few that are willing to go, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm taking one step forward. And that's how you deal with the overwhelm, is you go, okay, well, there's website, there's music, there's a recording studio, there's working with children, there's my old coaching, and there's potentially this whole new thing. That's a lot. So how can I start to break these things down into actionable steps? And your brain actually shifts into action gear when you start to break it down. And one of the things that happens is we start to judge. Well, just downloading videos from Facebook isn't good enough content. Well, what? Okay, that's one. What if we just download some videos and send those to our web guy? Then there's some content. Maybe we'll create fresh content. Maybe this content is good enough. We don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's just try it. Does it feel good? Keep going. Does it feel bad? Create some fresh content. I mean, you're creating a ton of content right now. So, I'm a big believer in get it out of your head. I'm a thinker. It's taken me a long time to actually understand how I physically feel about something, and then grow that awareness to choose something different, a different thought, a different feeling, a different action. So I like to write it all down. And I actually have note cards with me all the time. Because then I get it out of my head, and then I can look at it, and then I can literally cut it up into small pieces and start moving it around. And when the picture kind of looks good, or I've got enough to go with, it's okay, my brain switches into action gear, and I can start chipping away at whatever it might turn into.
Interesting. Before I became a kids coach, I was actually a sports coach at a school, a Waldorf school. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at some Facebook comments.
Oh, no worries. You can see the comments. I can't. Hello, Facebook commenters.
My friend Ryan Moss, he said he'll never forget a joke that I told him. And I said, what's the difference between an artist and a pizza? A pizza can feed a family of 4. It's terrible, but anyway.
That's pretty funny.
So thanks, Ryan. But I remember before I was a sports coach, and before I became a kid's life coach, I got my own coach, my first coach. And he said to me, well, he coached me to write my vision for my life. And just like you said, everything that I wrote in that vision was a huge dream back then, but now it's all done. I've done all of it. It was to coach kids, done. It was to run kids camps, done. I've run 8 kids camps. It was to run workshops with kids at schools. I've trained thousands of kids now. All the things that I dreamed of are all done, and now it just feels like that's sort of all expired. And I'm resisting writing the new vision. I'm sitting here, I don't know. What I'm doing at the moment is I'm creating a vision board. So I'd actually love to know your opinion on vision boards. And I'm just going on Pinterest and finding images of things that I enjoy, things that bring up positive emotions in me. And it might be a thing like an image of the ocean, because I've always loved the ocean, and it just gives me this positive feeling, or an image of someone that I would like a love relationship or work that inspires me. And I'm just putting these things together. It's not as specific as it was with my old coach, where I wrote exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it and how many kids I want to coach and how much money I want to make. It was so specific back then. And now it just feels like I'm just getting images because I don't know the specifics at the moment.
So one thing I think, again, an assumption that I'm hearing is there's one vision. There's one destination where you're going to end up. And right now, all the paths are in front of you.
Yeah.
What if you had 20 boards? What if you had Ocean Beach Life board? What if you had Digital Nomad World Traveler board? What if you had Artists Coach? I know you have a program called Inner Artist.
Yes.
What if you had, just Digital Online Business Mogul Coach board? I love the extra. I love vision boards. I love, I call it the perfect day. There's something about trying to come up with those details that feels very limiting because we're looking for one detail, one day. But the reality is we're going to have potentially thousands of days. And they could all look really different. And they could all be our perfect day. So in this space, there might not just be one vision board. And there's also, you mentioned it before, when we have multiple passions, when we have, multiple talents, that's a gift. And I know for artists, not to say true artists, but people that have this compelling urge to create, it can also feel a bit like a curse. And that's where artists can feed. I know artists that feed 20 different families, all of 4 people or more. I also know pizza makers that don't. So one of my second job ever was working at a pizza parlor and delivering pizza. Okay. And that's the point, is that there are multiple versions of ourselves and our goals and our visions, and there's room for all of them. And allowing ourselves to play, especially when we're in a space where we really don't have that how, I think that to me is the goal. It's not create a vision board, it's create the vision, which is wide and multi-passionate. And because we also we're not just multi-talented, we play different roles. You are a man, you're a teacher, you're a coach, you're a musician, you're a creator, you're a digital designer, you're a partner, you're a friend, you're a son, you might be a brother, and each one of those might need its own vision board.
It sounds like a lot of work making vision boards for everything,
Yeah, I guess I'm not suggesting that you have to make a vision board for all of these things. What I'm saying is you can allow for a variety in your vision. It's not, there isn't just one destination.
I often ask people, what was your dream when you were a child, when your parents would say, blow out the candles and make a wish? And I remember my dream was such a simple dream. Even as a young kid, it was to have enough money to be happy, not to be this multi-millionaire. I've never actually had that vision, but to have enough money to be happy, to raise a family, and to have a wife that I love and who loves me, and have a beautiful family. Simple dream. I feel like it's still that way, and there's something about, I guess there's something about having the surety of having money coming in and knowing that money will come. So as much as I'm playing right now and it's awesome and I'm just creating and doing whatever I want, and I'm not really focusing on the income and building like an empire or anything like that, I know that it will have to happen one day, especially if I do find that woman and we do decide, look, we're going to have a child or something, then things have to change. Then more money has to be created. So random question, but what was your childhood dream?
Not dissimilar. So again, I came immigrant family, and so very disciplined. Everybody was in medicine. There was no room for creativity growing up. And I've always been, for as long as I can remember, I don't like to say rebel, but like I'm really bad at being told what to do. And my knee-jerk reaction is to do the opposite thing. And so everyone around me would say what job they're going to get. You know, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to be a journalist or whatever it was. And I would say I want to be happy. And because I think knew even then that it didn't really matter where the money came from, what I did, as long as I was happy. And I think it's obviously money and security are very tightly interlinked. And when there isn't money, we feel like there isn't security. And I think there's a certain level, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or, I mean, you want to look at your chakras, you know, there's certain things to put in place to feel secure as a human. The reality is we have roofs over our head, we have clothes on our body, we have food in our refrigerators, you have food in your garden. You know, and then the human connection and the safety come into it. And for, at least for you and I, we are currently safe, secure, fed, clothed, sheltered. So that's where it's so then why does money become a metric for security? I think money is an interesting metric. I think that it enables us to do certain things at certain times, but it is not the metric for our security. And oftentimes, especially with artists and entrepreneurs, when they come to me with an idea that they want to monetize, my first question is, why do you want to make money from something that you love? It is way easier to make money from just like going to work and just showing up and doing what you're told. Money magically shows up in your bank account every 2 to 4 weeks. That's simple. That's easy. The security is debatable, but for the most part, it's much more secure than trying to create something and then put a dollar value amount on it and then ask somebody to buy it. So that has been, I'm very aware that it's work for me has never been the challenge. And so in this pursuit of happiness, I've been able to take huge leaps because I know that I've been working since I was 14 years old. Finding work, getting money, that's not hard. Finding purpose, finding happiness, that's to me the challenge and the opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I would answer that question and just say, I want to be happy. And it was very flippant. It was almost an objection to everybody else who wanted to get these like straighty 180 jobs.
Sure.
And I also, it's because I think I started working so young and I worked full time, you know, go to university and I was working on the day that I graduated. I started my own business when I was 23. So I got really used to that scarcity and that uncertainty. And then working in music, a lot of your money comes in sporadically. So you'll get royalties. You know, if you tour, that money, the income from touring doesn't come in for like 6 months, potentially even longer than that, depending on the size of the tour. So I've learned how to live my life in this way that I definitely think would be more challenging for someone with a family, with children, with different sort of aspirations than I personally have. So it's always a give and take, I think. But happiness has definitely been my driver. And I think that money is a byproduct, actually, of pursuing your own strengths, happiness, fulfillment, whatever you want to call it. If you're doing something that you get lost in, you'll make money, I think.
It's interesting because when I became a life coach, when I qualified as a life coach, part of the qualification was to choose a niche market, and I chose to coach kids. And there wasn't much competition at the time. There's a lot more now because there's so many more coaches now. But back then I was like, I'm going to do that because there's no competition and I know I'll make money and I'll be successful and I'll break into a new market. And in a way, because there was no competition, there wasn't this like drive, there wasn't so much passion. It was more like, let me find the words that people are looking for. Let me be strategic. So I wrote a workshop, like something called Tools for Bullying, which helps kids with bullying, and it just took off. And I've trained at so many schools because of it, but it became laborious. It became I was just on repetition mode, and as an artist, that can be quite difficult. So now that I'm stepping away from that, and I'm doing more of the things that I want to do, and like I said to you earlier, I'm starting to bring in like planting seeds with kids and bringing music in, and it's feeling a lot more on purpose and a lot more me. So I can see that I'm starting to bring the passion and the happiness into my work. But it doesn't necessarily, at the moment, I'm not making more money. I'm actually making less money. But I'm hoping that over time, things will turn around. So.
Well, and how does it feel playing again and bringing creativity back into your work and making less money?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Mic drop, interview over.
and the kids are even saying, they're like, oh, we've only got one more session with you, Phil. They're like, please come back, and I'm like, that's so cool that you guys are really enjoying it, and that makes me feel like it just makes me feel like I'm living more purposeful and I'm adding more to the community, and I guess it's just more joy from that.
I wish that it were easier to walk this path. And I wish that when we started to experience that contrast, the what we would label as these negative feelings, that it were less painful. But I have yet to figure out how to be able to support someone so that they don't have to experience that pain at all. And I'm not sure that that's the point. Because that's what you're describing is exactly what we were talking about, that course correction. You started to walk so far down a path that it got dark and scary and uncomfortable. So you didn't back out of it. You sidestep it, and now you're walking on a different path, and it's awesome. And you don't necessarily know where you're going. You kind of left the map back on that old path. And for anyone who's experienced, this is why I love actually working with people who have started their business, because you've achieved everything you've ever dreamed of. You would have defined yourself as sublimely successful at one point. You're making this money.
Yeah.
And the lessons that you learned from picking that niche and learning to speak the language of your clients and how to really support people in a truly impactful way, like those lessons you will always go with you. That knowledge, that experience, that wisdom is priceless.
100%.
But so now you're in this space where you're not an expert anymore. You're not just flowing in this continually money-making level of success. And it's uncomfortable, but it feels really good. And that's hard for our logical minds to negotiate. Well, the metrics suggest otherwise, but the reality feels amazing. So how do we kind of rectify these two? Or why are we wasting the energy on trying? I think when you've experienced a lot of success, you level out, you plateau, and then most people stay here and just kind of stay stuck. Some of us decide, I want more, I have more to offer. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm fucking going for it.
Yeah.
And then there's this incredibly vulnerable, the space in between, where you realize that the skills that you had aren't good enough. You've got to learn more, try more, work harder, fail, experience pain, grow. And you'll get there. You'll get there. You've done it before, but you're not there yet. And it's uncomfortable. And so I think that's where, I always say, when I was managing artists and other managers would complain about the bands and the inevitable artists brouhaha, I would say, well, this is why we have jobs. If they could do this stuff, then we wouldn't be here. And, I'm sort of finding myself in a similar space. If it were easy, if it wasn't terrifying or paralyzing, then I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you. So I would love to be able to show entrepreneurs that burnout is bad and destructive to everything, really. I mean, I work with people who've lost, wives and husbands, who have lost businesses, who have lost business partners and best friends. And if I could figure out that, like, the way, to use your words, how to use other people's words to avoid this altogether, it would be amazing. Or to help people understand you don't have to stay here for so long. There are ways you can get support and fast track this process. But I don't know. I don't know if that's my purpose. I think just sort of being here and ready and waiting when people are like, okay, this is scary. It's fun. It's joyful. I know I'm on the right path, but let's start getting there a little bit faster.
So our mutual friend Sher Gardner has made a comment. She says, operate out of love, joy, and happiness, and believe the magnetics of this will bring everything you wish. Thank you, Sher. And she also says, why do things in order of having a wife, then having children? Why not invite a child into your life before the ideal woman? You can have it any way you like. It really seems like we're tipping things. We like, the standard way is to have a wife and then to have a kid. She's like, why not just focus on having that kid and then maybe the wife will come? It's almost like there's no rules to manifesting, is there? There's no like order of manifesting. It's more just like, what do you feel you want? Focus on that and it'll sort of happen in its own way.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, everything you're experiencing right now, you've manifested. So you are a master at manifesting. And then so yeah, where to from here? What more would you like to invite in?
I'd like to say to anyone that is watching, if you have any questions, please comment below, and myself or Nicole can give you our answers.
I can't see the comments, so you got to share them with me, Phil.
Yeah, exactly. So here's another comment from Sher again. No rules to being an artist. Create your life.
Absolutely.
No rules. Yeah, 100%.
Thank you for watching, Cher. It's lovely to see you as always.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I'd like to know your understanding of someone's why. A lot of people, like Simon Sinek, I think, is the guy that really spoke this out into the world about understanding your why, your reason for doing things. And I think as an artist, it's so important I think it's important. I don't really know, but I can't tell you specifically my why. It seems like it changes all the time. Like I'll come up with my why is to have joy in the moment. And then tomorrow I'll be like, oh, my why is to share love with people. And the next day, my why is to express my creativity. It's like it just constantly changes.
So I think the why is powerful for a lot of different reasons. But I think for someone who's multi-passionate, who has and potentially multiple income streams, the why becomes important because it starts to act like a compass. And so you think, well, I just got this gig to work with more kids. If joy in the moment is my why, and I'm bringing more creativity and more play, and I'm sort of shifting up the script, is this going to bring me joy in the moment? Yes. Then yes. Is stopping this interview right now and picking up an instrument and playing it going to bring you joy in the moment? Yes. Then you do it. So your why starts to help you, especially in this space in between. It starts to help you filter what might not be something worth testing in this moment. So I could go get a job, and then I would have that money that would give me that security that I am potentially seeking. How does that feel? Not very joyful. Then it's a no. And so we start to, I've always had, the reason I have had and started and launched and invested and managed so many different businesses is because I'm multi-passionate. And I've always been told you have to focus on one thing. Divide your success, divide your timeline, divide your profits by everything you shift focus on. And that might be someone's experience. For me, I when I got clear on my why, it enveloped the entire spectrum, all of the passions, all of the income streams, all of the businesses. And I stopped judging my choices based on someone else's definition of what works and what doesn't. And I realized that these choices all go back to my why. Therefore, they are they're in my lane. I'm on the path, however you want to describe it. But I also just stopped wasting energy on questioning or judging or trying to do somebody else's system that just didn't apply to me. So I think for some people, one focus might work incredibly well. I think for other people, multiple focal points, multiple passions works really well. And it's about your why can become the catalyst or the filter or the compass. It just helps. For me, it gives me a very clear vision and
what is
direction
your why,
to move
Nicole?
in. Freedom. So mine is freedom. Being able to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And so multiple. So I have two businesses that are not very passionate. They don't involve a lot of creativity. They're a numbers game and they bring in money. And I could very easily reframe their existence to talk about how they provide, how they solve people's problems. But, those also allow me to work with clients that I find truly inspiring. Like they give me freedom in this business to say yes to the clients and people and projects that I do believe are visionary and say no to the money gig. So that's kind of how I've got this little equation for myself that gives me freedom. It gives me multiple things to focus on. It feels good.
So does it provide you with freedom? And if it provides you with freedom, then it's a yes. If not,
well, and so one of the reasons I left Australia, and one of the reasons I decided that I needed more freedom is because my mom's sick, and so being able to take care of her, and she can call me and say I have a doctor's appointment, and I'm like, okay, great, let's go. And so that is definitely not the most that's not going to make me rich. That approach of being able to choose to show up for my friends and family. I was able to help a friend of mine who was super sick at the beginning of the year for 3 months because I've created this demand for freedom in everything that I do. And she literally called me and said, "Can you come and help?" And I just said yes. That's my why. And so we can say it's like helping my mom or helping a friend or having financial freedom. It's this ability to choose at any moment what's most important to me and run towards that. That's my why.
It seems like, just listening to you talk, that connection and relationships are extremely important to you.
It's really interesting that you say that. Work has always, for me, work has been not easy, but I'm a workaholic and I love that. I've only ever done things that I really love. So it's made it really easy to I took a really different path. I didn't get the corporate job until I was in my late 30s, and then it was in the cannabis industry. So
cool.
Surrounding myself with people who push me and who inspire me has been I can't accept anything less. And when I found myself, I remember I lived in New Orleans for a little while. And I was working in an art gallery. It was a nonprofit. It was a community center for children in sort of a disenfranchised neighborhood. And we offered a place for children to be able to create and be safe and play. And also for artists to be able to create and be safe and play. New Orleans is a really interesting community. And I remember looking up in that quote that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I sort of looked around me and thought, well, I need to level this up. And I have no idea what that's going to look like. and not to judge anybody that was around me. It was just time to seek out people that were going to push me harder, challenge me more, inspire me on a totally different level. And I mean, I think I at that point wrote the sort of handover plan, and sent it to the board and said, okay, it's time. So that's something else for me is surrounding myself with powerful people, and like it's kind of a almost a vicious approach to that.
Sure. Yeah, well, I guess you got clarity on what you want, so then the next step is but I was still saying that it seems like connection and relationships are important to you. So you're saying that it's important for you to relate to people that will help you to build your vision.
You know, it's interesting. It's at the relationships. That's a challenge for me. I was sick when I was younger, and it kind of disconnected me. So this idea that we are all connected is something that I've really had to lean into through meditation and through more spiritual work. And so where I relate to people is ideas and this co-creation of vision. And so seeking people out who are willing to have these types of conversations is incredibly important to me, but it's not my MO. Like my MO is to sit down and get work done, and I could do that and not talk to anybody forever. So I have to very consciously, I learned that when I moved to Australia and started these businesses, that it doesn't matter how hard I work or how good I am at work. If you don't connect with people, if you don't build that community, if you don't give people an opportunity to become a part of something, even if it's just a higher level of themselves, that there's not really any point. You're not really, I don't feel like I'm actually growing. I'm just spinning my wheels.
Sure.
That's an interesting observation. Thank you for making that.
Pleasure. So Nicole, if people want to get in touch with you, what can they do? How can they do that?
Thank you. So I have a website, Nicole BZ. I thought you were going to say BZ, which totally works. But so NicoleBZ.com. It's really easy to get a hold of me there. I'm on socials. I find socials, they're a lot of work. It's definitely not my forte. So you can feel free to reach out. I'm on all of them. N as in Nicole BZ coaching is sort of my handle across everything. So you'll find me there. I will do my absolute best to respond, but sending me an email is probably the best way to get a hold of me. And it's just Nicole@NicoleBZ.com. Lots of NBZs.
And just to emphasize, one of your specialities is to help creatives and artists with strategizing their why, also helping them with their admin and marketing and putting strategies in place so that they don't need to spend all of their time on that difficult stuff, but they can actually just be themselves, right?
Absolutely. You summed up bravo. I wish I could sum it up that succinctly. Thank you.
Well, it's easy for me to sum up because it's something I would love to have. I would love to have someone that could help me with that. So I guess it's just a natural thing for me to sum up.
There you go.
Okay, so Nicole, it's been really awesome chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It's been a delight. I knew it would be. I've been watching you for a minute on the socials, so thank you so much for creating the space. You're inviting, I mean, the last interview with La Hala Maria. I'm always worried about the pronunciation, but she is powerful. I encourage anybody watching this that missed those last two to go back and watch them. And cacao, I love cacao because it's such a grounding, a plant medicine, and we have so many available to us, and it's really special to hear someone who is so educated in that space and such a powerful healer share. So thank you.
Yeah, maybe
you were doing the good work, fighting the good fight, Phil.
Thank you. She actually did a bone reading for me after that. She throws the bones, and wow, it was it was an unbelievable experience.
Wow. And it was so interesting to hear some of the things that she's experiencing and tuning into in this moment, because I do think that they're universal. And there is a collective movement happening in women right now. And I know that in South Africa, words do not do justice to the current environment. So I won't pretend to. But there's absolutely something happening on a universal level. And it's my honor to be a part of people who are also tuned into that. So I can't express my gratitude enough. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to end the broadcast, and then you and I can chat a little bit. So bye-bye, everyone else.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.